One of the conversations that we've been having as professional house cleaners over the last several weeks and months is how do we approach situations where house cleaners are going inside homes and they're dealing with kids and teenagers that are in hoarding or terribly cluttered situations and are suffering results from it. And it's academic results, it's social results that they're suffering with. There are social issues, there are self harming issues. There are self esteem issues. And we see house cleaners that are going inside these homes and they come out brokenhearted. And they're asking questions like, how do we help and what do we do? And it's a real concern. And it started several generations ago. And so we want to go back to the Great Depression, which was triggered by the crash of the stock market back in 1929. So we're at almost 100 years ago. And depending on how you classify a generation, whether it's 20 or 25 years, we're talking about 4 or 5 generations deep. And so right now we've run into a really weird, icky, sticky situation where we have residual effects that have kind of powered down generation after generation. Now, before we talk about kids and the effects that it's having on them, I want to go back to a time when I was a child. I grew up in a home where we had very limited space and there were 19 of us kids. And so we were told whatever you can keep inside a milk case. So we were limited on our personal belongings, but the family had their own share of stuff. And this came from my grandfather who had hoarding tendencies. Now, my grandfather grew up in the Great Depression. And so they were very resourceful about the things that they saved because getting new things was not as easy as it once was. So, for example, one of the things that was really important to them is that they didn't waste anything. And so, if anything was given to them, even if they didn't want it, they'd say, yes, we'll take it. Thank you very much. And we'll figure out a way to make it work for us. And so they became very resourceful. I too grew up in a very resourceful home with 19 kids. We didn't have a lot of things, but we would take what we had and we'd be very resourceful with it. And we would recraft it, we would repaint it, we would take a wheel off of this and put it on something over here, which meant the thing that we took it off of now was missing a wheel, right? So we were saving weird stuff. And so there's this weird kind of trap that some of us fall into. And I know that my grandfather, as a kid, I was perplexed by this, but my grandfather would be out walking. And as he would walk with us, and he would find a little nail on the pavement, he would pick up the nail, even if it was bent. And he would take it home, and he had a little coffee can, and he would collect these little nails and bolts and whatever he could find in these coffee cans. What was interesting about that is if it was bent or broken, he would take a hammer and he would hammer it out. And now you and me would sit here and go, that's not a very good use of your time, right? It wasn't. But that's the era he grew up in. We don't waste. And his motto was waste not, want not. And so that was a motto he shared with my dad when he was raising my dad. And then my dad raised me with the same philosophy. Now, let's flip the switch a second and I'll tell you about my mother. My mother is the second oldest of 16 kids. Her parents also grew up during the Great Depression. So, what happened was my mother, from the same era of, oh, let's save everything and let's be resourceful, also growing up in a large family, had to make ends meet, if you will. And so the generation after generation of saving and storing and being resourceful with things comes from actually a really good place. If the world had saved and restored and repurposed everything it had, our landfills wouldn't be so full and we wouldn't be as wasteful as we are today. Okay. So there are great things that came from that generation. So I don't want to knock it and smack it upside the head and say, oh, that's all bad. I want to say, wow, how amazing that we came from an era where we were taught to reuse things instead of waste them. So it is time for us to give ourselves permission to get in control of our stuff. Because, like I said, this is an epidemic and it's something that needs to be addressed. So I really appreciate all of you guys joining me today. I love you guys. I really appreciate these times that we're able to spend together and the conversations that we're able to have. Please know you are not alone. Please remember that you are enough. All right, you guys take it easy and I will see you again. Take care.